because now we're going to hear Martin Brechbiel MMR building an old kit. And I can't do this.
Well, not an old kit this week because I haven't caught up enough yet. But we're going to talk about a car I built probably in the last 18 months. I vaguely remember it, so it's probably within that time frame. I don't know if it's 10 or not, but I thought it was a perfect number, so whatever. So start with the basic frame. Hey, it's a basic flat car frame, stick by stick. It got side sills, end sills, beams in the middle, stick by stick decking. For some reason, I felt like doing stick by stick for once. It's a little tedious, but it's not that hard to do. And you just lay down some glue, slap on your boards. They're not cut exactly right. I like them a little rough on the edges sometimes. So here's the rest of the parts. Well, we've got basically a flat car built. I've got some resin bolsters, some extra boards here and there. Looks like some stakes, because I got stake pockets, so I better have stakes. Not even sure what those were for. And this is a piece of conduit from the electrical section over at Home Depot. You buy a nice 12 or 20-foot section of this, and you can build a lot of tanks or tank cars or whatever you want to use it for. It's a very handy material. It's just about the right size for road scale too. Well, quick, build up some sides, stakes, stake pockets. These are old Nation brass ones. You could use newer ones from Grant Line if you'd like. I don't remember what size these are and what size anything here is. It's been that long, but they're all drilled out for nut, bolt, and washer castings, which are added. And once the sides are built and mounted, now we can build the two ends to drop in at each end of the car and get those done correctly without any guesswork. They'll fit perfectly. And then we build a pair of toolboxes. This is just scribe siding, some odds and ends, some scribe siding for the sides, back and front, some scrap reinforcement, and a hunk of lead. So there's a hunk of lead in each one of these, and that's what keeps this car on the track. So I think that's 1/3 of an inch thick lead. So this car's got a little weight to it once it's fully assembled. So we take the toolboxes, we add some bracing, add some hinges, add some handles, some more nut bolt washer castings. Now we have our we have two toolboxes, one for each end of the car, or supplies, tools, supplies, whatever, what have you. Okay, we cut up that piece of conduit into short sections. The ends have scribe siding on them. I actually have a line on here so I know which end's up and where it's a straight edge, so I try to get both ends aligned. This is a piece of brass tubing with some brass square stock soldered onto it with some flat stock soldered to the top to get you a top cap on the tank. This is where the hinge will go eventually. So we got tanks. We need cradles for the tanks. So that's what those longer sticks are for. Building the cradles for the tanks to sit into, because we can't have them rolling around. And we have some barrel, it's stick by stick around the piece of conduit to get you a barrel. Then there's some barrel bands, which are actually made up from 15 by 60 thousandths brass, which is soldered together. They're actually pressure fit on. I actually measure those, solder them up, and use a screwdriver getting them over the edges. And once on, they slide in. Some drains at each end made out of some brass tubing and some brass wire for handles. You see the hinges have been added on top. So they're just sitting in there loose right now. Okay, now they're not loose anymore. We have some more 15 thousandths brass. This actually goes down through this beam. There's another beam on the outside of each of these. And that actually secures them in place. They're not glued in place. They're actually held in place by the brass strap. And you can see here on the end, it's a piece of brass soldered to some 28 thousandths or 33 thousandths wire into a turnbuckle, into another piece of brass wire, into the floor, out the other side. There's nut bolt and washers holding the those pieces in place. And apparently I added even cross pieces across the end to hold it all together, and another turnbuckle. And you see a little update from where we were. We've got the stirrup steps in, air hoses in, a brake wheel. It's coming along nicely. The backside, well, the backside's not as interesting. There's no spigots or drains on the barrels, but it's basically the same car, front and back. Underbody, the basic K-brake, some levers, K-brake cylinder, the standard truss rod underbody, and nothing particularly fancy here that I'm aware of that I put in. Well, of course, I was smart enough this time to actually drill and tap the bolsters before gluing them in place. It's always easier to do beforehand than after. And just so you know, these are precision scale brass castings. Actually, these are plastic ones. I didn't use the brass ones. They're actually inserted into some brass 3/64 tubing, and the tubing fits right over the 33 thousandths airline. Well, you take it out in the driveway and give it a good coat of paint real quick, and this is what you end up with. And we paint the boxes. Storage toolbox is a different color just for fun. We get nice red and green because we can be very Christmassy then and have a nice color coordinated car. And coming into the home stretch, I actually put numbers on the thing. Didn't letter it for a road name, but it's car number 75. We have number 1 and we got number 3. What number 1 and number 3 are left to your imagination. The toolboxes are only held in there by friction and weight, that lead weight that's in there. They're not glued in place. They're still removable. I left them alone. Arch bar trucks underneath, held in there with 440 screws. And let's see, that's the back side. There's the front. Front being the side with the spigots and drains. And that's all we're going to go with on that car for this week. And if I get far enough ahead, I get ahead of you all, I'll have this old kit 2 next week. And if I don't, well, it'll be another scratch build car. So if anybody's got any questions, I'm ready.
Quick question on why did you do the barrels that way? I know there's they used to do, I guess, vertical at one time. But,
oh yeah, okay. I actually have pictures of a car that has the barrels turned that way. From, and I don't know what the car actually carried, but it's in a picture at the I can't remember the name of the town. Baronsville. It's in Pennsylvania. That's where one of the major radium purification plants used to be in the teens and 20s. And I have a picture of a car there that has tanks on it turned in that direction. I think it has 4 or 5 tanks on it. And in front of the car, of course, is standing there is Marie Curie. And it's a fascinating car, and I've never been able to track down what its real cargo and purpose was. But I figured, well, if they could have one car turn that way there, I could have a car turn that way with the tanks turned that way in my railroad, just for fun.
Great job, Martin. I really do appreciate it. Thanks so much for this evening.
No problem.